September 10, 2025, 4:30 a.m., Arctic Circle. Beneath the frozen roof of the world, the deadliest hunt in modern history began. Russia's newest submarine, the Yasen-M class Perm, slipped into the depths like a ghost. 155 meters of steel, 13,800 tons, 32 Zircon hypersonic missiles, a nuclear reactor with Irtysh-Amphora sonar so advanced it was built to be invisible. But America moved fast. 3 Virginia-class attack subs, USS New Jersey, Oregon, and Hyman G Rickover, cut through the black water like wolves, each bristling with tomahawks, Mk-48, ADCAP torpedoes, and swarms of UUV drones. Would Russia's Phantom remain untouchable?
Or would the U.S. prove that even invincible steel can bleed beneath the ice?
At 4:37, Norwegian SOSUS hydrophones caught a pulse, faint, irregular, but sharp. Analysts froze, coffee cups trembling on their desks. It wasn't drifting ice. It wasn't a whale.
One whispered, "It's moving!"
The net had to close, fast. Russia's Yasen-M submarines are the crown jewel of its fleet, and Perm is the sharpest blade. Hypersonic missiles reaching 900 kilometers at Mach 9, sonar that maps darkness itself, endurance measured in months. It was designed to terrify NATO, and the Arctic is the perfect stage. Beneath the ice lie vast gas reserves, chokepoints, and the GIUK Gap, the narrow gateway between Greenland, Iceland, and the UK. In recent years, Russian patrols through this gap had rattled NATO time and again. The Yasen-M Kazan once approached Norwegian waters so closely that surveillance aircraft scrambled in panic. An Akula class shadowed a U.S. carrier group for 2 full days without being seen, and a so-called black hole Kilo slipped through dozens of sonobuoys, vanishing like smoke beneath the waves.
Each incident sent the same message. A single Russian submarine could paralyze an ocean.
For Russia, this was revenge for Kursk in 2000. 118 sailors lost, a vow of never again carved into naval doctrine. For America, it was survival. If Perm reached the Atlantic, Norfolk, New York, even NATO convoys were at risk. So when Perm disappeared beneath the ice that September morning, the U.S. didn't hesitate. 3 Virginia-class Wolves slid into position, forming a silent killbox. And then, just before 5 a.m., a new signal appeared. Sharp, alien, impossible to mistake. The hunt had begun. The signals were relayed immediately to NATO headquarters in Stavanger. Analysts squinted at the waveforms, their fingers frozen over keyboards. Could it be another Russian incursion? Within minutes, the decision was made. 3 Virginia-class attack submarines, the USS New Jersey, Oregon, and Hyman G Rickover, would move to intercept. Their mission: form a triangular killbox beneath the ice, a silent net designed to trap the most dangerous ghost in Russia's fleet. The journey from Keflavik was tense. Each sub slithered through the frigid waters like a predator, sonar operators scanning for any hint of Perm. By 5:45 a.m., USS Oregon sonar techs picked up metallic echoes bouncing off submerged ridges. The room fell silent. Was it shifting ice, a whale navigating the under-ice channels, or the ballast tanks of the elusive Perm? Every second of hesitation could allow the Yasen-M to slip past unnoticed. Perm had anticipated this. The Russian captain hugged jagged ice ridges, using natural formations to mask the sub's acoustic signature. Every turn, every dip, was calculated to frustrate detection. Its Irtysh-Amphora sonar mapped the surrounding darkness, identifying approaching drones and submarines. On the U.S. side, UUVs, sleek, autonomous underwater vehicles, were deployed to map acoustic patterns. Each ping sent through the Arctic silence was a question mark. Are you real or a phantom? By 6:15 a.m., the tension ratcheted higher. USS New Jersey detected a thermal anomaly and unusual vibration patterns, signatures consistent with a potential Zircon missile launch. Red alert sirens cut through the otherwise muted control room. Crew members pressed against consoles, tracing possible trajectories. The faint glow of screens reflected on tense faces. Every blip could mean life or death. Communication was minimized to reduce noise. The only words exchanged were clipped and precise. The triangular formation tightened. Rickover reported interference from the ice keels above, reflections that could mask Perm's real location. USS Oregon adjusted depth, maintaining stealth, while New Jersey deployed additional UUVs to triangulate positions. By 7 a.m., first contact became undeniable. A metallic echo, followed by a subtle but distinct vibration, too precise to be ice, confirmed that Perm was out there, somewhere beneath the Arctic gloom. The U.S. subs were no longer merely searching, they were actively hunting. Every sonar ping, every drone deployment, every course correction increased the risk of detection, but also the chance of eliminating the threat before it could strike Atlantic targets. And then, just as operators began to believe they had a reading, something unexpected happened. A signal unlike any previous sonar trace appeared, a rapid staccato pulse, almost like a heartbeat, coming from a direction that didn't match prior calculations. The crew froze. Could it be a countermeasure, a decoy, or had Perm just revealed a fragment of itself, taunting the hunters? The triangular net tightened. The Arctic was silent again, except for the hum of nuclear reactors, the faint whine of sonar, and the distant groan of shifting ice. Every operator knew that the next few minutes could decide the outcome of a chase that had been decades in the making. The ghosts of past encounters, the near misses of 2018, the shadowing of carrier strike groups, the vanishing Kilo class hung over them. And then, out of the black water, came a signal no one expected, whispered the USS New Jersey sonar officer. The hunt had escalated from tense surveillance to lethal engagement. Somewhere below, Perm waited, aware that the hunters were closing in. The Arctic had become a chessboard of stealth, technology, and instinct. And with each passing second, the distance between predator and prey shrank. Would Perm slip through the net, or would the U.S. subs prove that even the deadliest ghost cannot vanish forever beneath the ice? 7:15 a.m. Arctic Circle. The ocean's black heart convulsed. From the belly of USS New Jersey, sleek UUV drones shot into the freezing abyss like a pack of wolves let loose from the cage. They weren't slow recon scouts. They were hunters, razor-eyed and relentless, spearing through water thick with shadows. Each drone pulsed low-frequency sonar, a bass thunder that rolled off the jagged seafloor. Every echo painted a fragment of the unseen battlefield. The crew leaned over their consoles, jaws tight, fingers locked to controls. The sonar officer's headset hissed with static, each return echo hammering like a drumbeat inside his skull. This wasn't passive listening anymore, it was hunting by force. The Arctic groaned above them, ice shifting with ancient weight. But beneath the frozen ceiling, the Americans stalked with precision, tightening their net. Far below, the Russian ghost stirred. The Perm, 155 meters of titanium fury, felt the disturbance. Captain Leonid Volkov stood rigid, his hands clasped behind his back. His face was stone, but his eyes burned with calculation. He snapped orders in a low growl. MG-74, deploy. The decoy hissed into the water, followed by another, then another. Within seconds, the abyss sang with chaos. Metallic echoes, bubble streams, false propeller beats, all of it sculpted into phantoms. To the Americans, it was as if the Arctic birthed an entire fleet of Yasen-M's ghosts, twisted across sonar screens, multiplying, splitting, vanishing. Inside the New Jersey, the sonar officer cursed under his breath. Multiple contacts. Too many. They're everywhere. The captain slammed his fist against the console. Sort them out. That bastard is down there. The Arctic was alive now. Ice groaned overhead. Ridges snapped under shifting pressure. Sonar pings collided like war drums. Every console glowed with false shadows. It was no longer one-on-one. It was Predator versus a phantom army. 7:18. One drone screamed back a blurred outline. Long, slender, serpentine. The control room erupted. Contact! The blip held steady for only 3 seconds before the screen fizzled. A thunderous explosion tore through the abyss. The drone's feed cut to black. The Perm had struck. The crew froze. Hands hovered, eyes wide, hearts pounding. The Russians weren't just hiding, they were lashing out. They had teeth, and they had just bitten off the first American probe. The silence was deafening. Then the captain of the New Jersey leaned forward, voice like steel.
Battle stations! We're not hunting a ghost, we're fighting a monster!
And the monster was awake. 7:50 a.m. USS Rickover struck with steel vengeance. A Mk-48 Mod 7 torpedo fired, screaming into the depths. It tore forward like an unleashed predator, its guidance fins slicing water, its warhead primed to crack a submarine's spine in half. The crew tracked it with hawk eyes, every man aware that this shot could change the war beneath the ice. But Volkov had been waiting. From the Perm's launch tubes, a UGST heavyweight torpedo spat fire and fury. The Russian counterstrike was immediate, brutal, and merciless. 2 killers surged head-on through the black. Their wakes carved glowing scars through the Arctic water. The sonar operators on both sides shouted updates. Their voices sharp, strained. Mag-48 closing fast. UGST tracking, vector shift bearing 095. The ocean floor became a killing ground. Jagged ridges loomed like black teeth. Shadowy trenches yawned beneath them. Ice keels pressed down from above. 0755. Impact. A decoy caught one torpedo mid-stride. The detonation thundered, a muffled shockwave tearing outward. The vibration slammed against the under-ice ceiling. Sheets of frozen sea cracked and boomed overhead. On the Rickover, sailors braced against consoles, teeth rattling from the force. But the real target still prowled. The Perm dove hard, titanium groaning as it scraped perilously close to the seabed. Inside, red lights flashed. Men grabbed handrails, sweat dripping into their eyes. Volkov barked orders. Dive steeper, trim faster, hold your nerve. Every meter closer to the jagged bottom pushed the hull to its limits. Above, in the Pentagon's war room, analysts stared at a wall of sonar data relayed through satellites. Blips danced across massive screens, some solid, some fading, some multiplying. Was that the Perm, or just another phantom? Arguments broke out. No one agreed. The enemy was rewriting the rules in real time. Inside the Perm, silence reigned. Engines cut to minimum. Fans slowed to whispers. Every man frozen in place. Silent running. The submarine became a ghost in truth, a steel coffin gliding without sound. The only noise was the pounding of hearts. On USS Oregon, Captain Daniel Reeves faced the impossible. His officers urged action. Fire now. Risk everything. Strike before they lost the trace. Reeves's jaw clenched. The weight of 140 lives pressed against his ribs. If he fired and missed, Perm could vanish forever. If he hesitated, the Russians could fire first. The Arctic had become a coliseum, and the crowd was silence itself. 0810. The Perm dove deeper. The abyss grew tighter, a labyrinth of cliffs and ice keels. The Russians threaded between obstacles like acrobats, their hull brushing danger with every shift. The Americans answered with fury. New Jersey launched a fresh wave of UUVS Rickover unleashed sonar sweeps. Oregon adjusted depth, creeping closer, sharpening its angle. The drones moved like a swarm of piranhas, probing, circling, bleeding data into overlapping sonar webs. One drone slammed into a submerged ridge. The detonation rattled the seabed, a thunderclap that sent shockwaves through steel hulls. On every sub, men clutched bulkheads, holding their breath as water roared around them. Then, at 8:15, a faint but steady line flickered across the display aboard USS Oregon. Not the erratic flutter of a decoy, not the hollow resonance of a drone. This was organic, precise, propeller cavitation, steady and relentless. "Continuous trace," the sonar officer barked, his voice cracking under adrenaline. "This one's real. We have her." In the dim red light of the control room, Captain Willis leaned over the console, eyes hard. He had hunted Russian submarines for 20 years, but never like this, never with the stakes of Arctic Command riding on a single kill. His tone was clipped, unshaken. Lock the bearing. Maintain silence. No mistakes. Inside the Perm, Captain Viktor Volkov felt the shift. The Americans had pierced the veil. He didn't need the sonar officer's pale face to know it. "They've got us," whispered the XO. Volkov bared his teeth. Not yet. His orders cracked through the silence like rifle shots. "Fire decoys. Launch now. 1, 2, 3. False signatures exploded into the dark, their electronic pulses imitating the rhythm of the Yasen-M screws. The abyss bloomed with phantoms. To the American operators, it was as if 3 Yasens had risen from the black. "Multiple contacts," a sonar tech aboard the New Jersey shouted. "I count 3, maybe more." The U.S. net reacted instantly. New Jersey surged left, slicing the black like a sword. USS Rickover accelerated from the rear, its propellers thrumming. Oregon tightened from the flank, their formation compressing into a steel noose. The water itself seemed to convulse under the strain. 8:20, pings ricocheted across the abyss. Drones screamed through the dark, detonating in sudden flashes. Torpedo wakes cut silver scars across the void, curving, hunting, missing, exploding. Each eruption sent shockwaves smashing into steel hulls, rattling teeth and bones. Inside the Oregon, the deck vibrated like the heartbeat of a giant. Men clung to railings, jaws clenched. The crew knew, one wrong move and their submarine would be nothing but twisted metal sinking into silence. Inside Perm, the tension was suffocating. Sailors stared at the bulkheads as if the steel could betray them. Every ping felt like a hammer striking an anvil. The hull creaked, a low groan echoing through the compartment. Men thought of their families in Murmansk and St. Petersburg, their mothers, their children. Volkov stood like a statue in the command chair. His voice was calm, sharp. "Hold course. Ignore the ghosts. Watch the hunters." He was gambling on fear, on the Americans firing too soon, wasting torpedoes on shadows. Drone against drone. Torpedo against countermeasure. Explosions rippled through the water like a storm of thunder. Pressure waves slammed into hulls, rattling instruments, making ears bleed. The Americans pushed harder, tightening the noose. "We're in the killbox," whispered Volkov's sonar chief. "Good," Volkov said. His lips curled into a grim smile. "That's where we fight." At 8:40 a.m., The Arctic silence shattered in a way no one aboard the U.S. submarines could ignore. The triangular formation of the Virginia-class attack subs tightened, compressing the underwater arena to a 20-kilometer perimeter. Every sonar operator knew that one miscalculation could mean losing the quarry, or worse, striking a friendly drone. Inside USS Oregon, the captain's voice was calm but firm. "Prepare to fire." Track confirmed. Seconds later, the Mk-48 torpedo cut through the frigid depths. Its trajectory was perfect this time. The impact reverberated through the water, a muffled shock that rattled the ice above and sent a jolt through the American submarines. Below the surface, Perm groaned under the stress. Its hull creaked and shuddered. The nuclear-powered submarine had been heavily damaged. Propulsion systems failed in the chaos, leaving it adrift, unable to maneuver or mount a counterattack. The toll was immediate and brutal. 8 Russian sailors were killed instantly by the blast. Several others suffered injuries from decompression shocks and ruptured compartments. In one flooding section, a sonar operator fought to escape, lungs burning as icy water filled the hallway. He clawed his way past twisted metal, reaching a hatch just as another crew member was dragged under by the current. The human cost was immediate and visceral. On USS Oregon, a sonar technician whispered, still gripping the console, "I can't get that sound of hull snapping out of my head. It's burned into me." Despite the chaos, discipline aboard the U.S. subs remained impeccable. Operators logged every detonation, every acoustic signature, every countermeasure Perm had deployed. In total, the American submarines had fired 7 torpedoes and deployed 15 UUV drones, each contributing to the relentless hunt. The data collected in these moments would feed intelligence for years, offering insights into Yasen-M countermeasures and Arctic stealth tactics. By 9:05, the Russian submarine had no choice. Surfacing beneath a fractured sheet of polar ice, Perm broke through with a dramatic hiss, surrounded by 3 vigilant Virginia-class subs. The Arctic sun glinted off the broken ice as the captain of Oregon confirmed. The ghost of the Arctic was now trapped. The surrender was silent, almost surreal after hours of chaotic underwater warfare. For the U.S. crews, relief mixed with awe. They had hunted one of the most advanced stealth submarines in the world through the Arctic labyrinth and survived. For the Russians, humiliation was compounded by human loss, and the stark realization that technology alone could not ensure escape. This encounter would be studied in Moscow and Washington alike, a defining example of undersea warfare in extreme conditions. As the 3 U.S. submarines maintained perimeter control, the Arctic waters returned to a tense stillness. The hunt had ended, but the psychological echoes of the battle would linger in both navies. The Perm was outmatched, cornered, and ultimately powerless. Proof that even the most advanced stealth craft could be ensnared with precision, patience, and coordination. The Arctic silence that followed the Perm's forced surfacing was deceptive. Across Moscow, alarms blared as the Ministry of Defense scrambled to assess the damage. Public statements were combative. The United States had committed an unprovoked act of war in waters Russia claimed as strategic territory. Threats of retaliation rippled through the Russian government, hinting at accelerated naval patrols and possible missile exercises in the North Atlantic. Yet internally, commanders faced a harsher reality. The newest Yasen-M stealth submarine, the pride of their undersea fleet, had been trapped, neutralized, and publicly humiliated. For NATO, the engagement was a rare triumph in Arctic waters. Analysts in Brussels and London hailed it as a demonstration of precision, coordination, and technological supremacy. The Virginia-class attack submarines had executed a textbook encirclement, exploiting sonar, drones, and tactical patience. Military experts noted that Russia's claim of invincible stealth was now under question. The Perm's vulnerability exposed gaps in Arctic undersea doctrine and highlighted NATO's growing ability to operate in extreme polar conditions. Yet the psychological toll extended beyond geopolitics. Russian Navy personnel faced the bitter truth that training and cutting-edge technology could be outmatched by tactical coordination. Morale suffered. Rumors spread in the Northern Fleet about the ghost caught under the ice, a story that would linger in mess halls and offices long after the battle. Meanwhile, NATO crews, though reassured, remained wary. The engagement had proven their dominance, but it also reminded them of the high stakes. One misstep, and the Arctic could become a theater of catastrophe. The engagement also reshaped the way both sides approached Arctic operations. U.S. doctrine now emphasized multi-layered hunting strategies, combining human judgment with autonomous drones and acoustic mapping. Russia, in contrast, accelerated research into countermeasures, Arctic stealth coatings, and emergency surfacing protocols. In the coming months, every sonar ping and patrol in the polar region would carry the shadow of the Perm encounter. In general, the battle underscored a timeless truth of undersea warfare. The ocean, especially under ice, is both a shield and a trap. Victory in the silent deep requires more than technology. It demands coordination, patience, and nerves of steel. As the Arctic waters calmed, a stark reminder lingered for all. Silence never lasts. Beneath the ice, beneath the waves, nations continue preparing, waiting for the next clash where the hunters may once again become the hunted. In just a few tense hours, the Arctic turned from a frozen expanse into a deadly undersea battlefield. The Russian ghost submarine Perm, built to strike fear into the Atlantic, became the hunted. 3 Virginia-class attack submarines, operating with precision, closed the net beneath the ice. The hunter was outmaneuvered, outmatched, and ultimately forced to surface, a moment that would echo through naval circles for years. The night Perm surrendered may mark a new, deadlier age in undersea warfare, where technology, strategy, and human nerve collide, proving even the most advanced stealth vessels are not invincible. Yet the Arctic remains vast and unpredictable. Silence returns only briefly, as nations quietly prepare for the next engagement that could reshape global power. If you want to witness how the next clash beneath the ice unfolds, subscribe and join me on the next mission. The hunt is far from over.